What is the best advice never given? Greetings and welcome to the Global Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Prophet Elliott Richard Maxie. Today, I'm going to do my best to explain the inspiration behind this series of teachings and what I have found to be the best advice never given. I want to use as a point of reference 1 Kings chapter 19 found in the Holy Bible. I'm going to read starting at verse 19 from the New King James Version of the Bible. And then I'm going to switch over to 2 Kings chapter 2 and read a few verses there. If you have your Bibles, I welcome you to follow along with me. But if not, I ask you just to consider and listen to these spectacular words. And it reads, "So he departed from there and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he was with the 12th. Then Elisha passed by him and threw his mantle on him." 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 1 says, "And it came to pass, when the Lord was about to take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Then Elijah said to Elisha, 'Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Bethel.' But Elisha said, 'As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you.' So then they went down to Bethel. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, 'Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today?' And he said, 'Yes, I know. Keep silent.' Then Elijah said to Elisha, 'Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to Jericho.' But he said, 'As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you.' So they came to Jericho. Now the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho came to Elisha and said to him, 'Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over your head today?' So he said, 'Yes, I know. Keep silent.' Then Elijah said to him, 'Stay here, please, for the Lord has sent me on to the Jordan.' But he said, 'As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you.' So the two of them went on." We see here in our text today, very familiar text. If you were to combine both 1 Kings and 2 Kings as a progressive conversation, we would discover the beginning of the observation of the life of Elisha. The prophet Elijah was led by the divine spirit to go to a particular place to meet a man by the name of Elisha, for he would ultimately succeed him as prophet to God's people. Elijah finds Elisha working in the field. The Bible records that there were 12 plowmen of which Elisha was the 12th. The scene is this: Elisha following behind a beast of burden and being the last in a line of men. Like Elisha, I too have followed in the footsteps of others. For a long time I did as I was told and was convinced that this was best for me. This is until I started waking up to the divine mind concerning my own potential. For me, this awakening started when it occurred to me that my entire world was filled with voices. These voices were often competing for my attention and my affections. Literally thousands of voices. Voices for every day of the week. Voices for every area of my life. Voices for everything that happened in my life. And for a long time, these voices controlled my life. At times, a bit of frustration would rise up in me because I often felt ill-equipped to choose the correct voices to obey. Also, from time to time, I would examine my life and often felt prone to choosing the voices that led me away from the places I truly desired to go. And I could not, for the life of me, I could not understand why this was the case. Especially for me, because on some level, I felt that I had a clear sense of what I wanted to achieve in life. A great deal of disappointment started to set in because I felt that I had a very good awareness of who I was and why I was born, and yet, from my perspective, my life did not look like it. What I now find amazing is the fact that I didn't give up on believing that there were better voices and that I would find them, even though I questioned my own ability to do so. I've come to realize that the voices speaking to me was the thoughts and the opinions of what I would like to call the crowd. The crowd is the world of media all around us. It is found in our communities, on the radio, on television, on the internet, in our places of worship, in the marketplace, and many others, just to name a few. I would eventually reach a place in this frustration with my life where I was no longer going to listen to any voices speaking to me. And for a time, all I experienced was silence. This silence would eventually prove to be the best and most therapeutic breakthrough I have ever had. The silence taught me how much I could do on my own. And I couldn't give you, for the life of me, an actual date on the calendar, but I can tell you this much. At some point in my recent years, life really started to feel good. And I believe it is because I begin to wake up to the voice within me. Now I realize that this inner voice had always been there, but was starting to become more and more clear to me. I further realized that this clarity came during the time when I really started investigating for myself matters of spirituality, especially beyond that which I have been taught previously. I realized that part of the reason for much of the depression I experienced and the repeating of vicious cycles of redundancy in my life and the making myself happy with less than stellar situations all came from listening to the crowd. And this I was determined not to do to myself anymore. This voice, this inner voice, would often stand out to me because, like your inner voice and everyone's inner voice, it sounds much like my own voice. But I knew that what I was hearing was not something that originated from me. Also, this voice would often be in staunch, and I mean in staunch opposition to every other voice I could hear. For these reasons, I felt that I could not trust this voice. As I take time and I reflect back to those early stages of awakening, I realized that there were points in my journey where I really started believing that I was not good enough and that I should not trust myself. I felt as though everything that I could achieve had to be, in essence, validated by someone or something that wasn't me, thus making every validator much more important than me. At some point in my life started manifesting situations that positioned me to only have the inner voice for guidance and comfort. If I tried soliciting the help of someone else, the result was always frustrating disappointment. I see now that God was developing me to be able to stand on my own mentally, emotionally, financially, and spiritually with confidence. So the question has been asked: what is the best advice never given? For me, I can sum it up this way: value everything as being from God, self included. I want to say that again. Value everything being from God, self, me, you, us, all of us, we included. Until we able to have this moment to share again, I just pronounce a blessing of peace and joy and inner satisfaction and fulfillment to be upon you. Be blessed.